Good morning, and welcome back to Adjust Your Shorts. That's right, it's time to pull up your briefs because you're about to get kicked in the dick. First of all, I have to make a redactment. I can't believe it. Episode 3, and I've already said something wrong. Something wrong. There's something wrong in the world today, and I don't know what it is. My Trump's getting better. Breaking news, Greenland is not the size of Africa. What had happened was, I'm so dumb. If you look at Google Maps, it looks like it's the same size as Africa. But when you look at a globe, well, you see the truth is glaringly different. It is not. It is, however, just a little bigger than Mexico. So it's still pretty funny that we just call it the island. Ooh, that little island up there. Case still stands. However, just for good measure, let's say the facts. You know, Greenland is 830-ish square miles. 830,000 square miles. Africa, on the other hand, a little over 11 million. Ooh, boy, that's a big difference. Mexico, a little smaller, 750,000 square miles. So there you go. We're going to start this one off with a little breaking news in my own personal life. The other day, I do some handyman stuff. The other day, I was changing out outlets and switches in a bedroom, and I moved the bed to get to those ones, and then it hit me as I was under a desk that not only had I touched the bed of, but I was now under the computer desk of a teenage boy. And I was lying down on my side under the computer desk. I don't know how this works. Do I jump in a vat of acid now? Is it too late? The bottom line is now at least I know what Plan B tastes like. Okay, moving into the news. Let's take a look at the news as only I know it / as only Google and the BBC and the Guardian and the ABC and the NBC and the CBC think of it. This is what's important today. Oh, this is brand new. Trump threatens 200% tariff on EU champagne and other alcohol products. This trade war thing is pretty wild. It just makes me think maybe it's time to buy some seeds and grow some vegetables and stop building stuff. And when I think of that, that's what I think is going to happen. I think that it's a slowdown of the economy, which I don't think is a bad thing. I mean, why do we continually think that it needs to grow? Like, because there's an economy, it needs to grow. Like, that's corporate thinking. I need my bank account to be bigger. I need business to be bigger. This is what happens when capitalism runs a country. You think everything has to be bigger than last year. It doesn't. What about let's just keep it the same? You don't need a new car every 2 years. People throw stuff away that's like still good. And they're cutting the grass next door. So you're going to hear that. I love golf. Let me tell you how much I love golf. I love golf so much. I love golf almost as much as I love a helicopter landing on my fucking house. All right, so we're still at the trade war. The NPR headline, What Greenland's Elections Mean for the Island. I'm telling you, I am so right. What they do, I remember reading about this, my first glimpse into seeing how this actually works was during the Obama administration. And I remember reading something that said they wouldn't call him President Obama because they wanted to try to take him down a peg. So anytime you see something where they won't call it by its full name, They call Mr. Trump or Mr. Musk. There's an article today that I saw was about the Doge and how they're hiding their mistakes, which it's bullshit. Just you're gonna make mistakes, so just own them and keep trying harder, whatever. But yeah, the island, that little tiny island. Okay, no news there. Kremlin dismisses U.S.-Ukraine ceasefire proposal as Putin visits front line. There was a ceasefire proposal yesterday put forward, but since we stopped sharing intelligence with Ukraine, apparently Russia has moved forward and taken over the Kursk region completely, I guess, and pushed everybody else out. So essentially, the Ukrainians were relying quite heavily on our intel, and without it, they are unable to defend against Russian movements because they don't have the stuff that we have. So the article says Russia sees a temporary ceasefire suggested by the U.S. and Ukraine as little more than a chance for Kiev's forces to regroup. Washington says it's waiting to hear Moscow's reaction to the 30-day ceasefire plan, but it sounds like they're not doing it. Called the outline plan. This is Putin's foreign policy advisor, Yuri Ushakov, called the outline plan nothing else than a temporary respite for the Ukrainian military. Nothing more. And so they're just going to keep on keeping on with that. EPA announces sweeping plan to revoke dozens of environmental regulations. In what he called the most consequential, this is in quotes, most consequential day of American deregulation in history, the head of the Environmental Protection Agency announces a series of actions Wednesday to roll back landmark environmental regulations, including rules on pollution from coal-fired power plants, climate change, and electric vehicles. Here's another quote. We are driving a dagger through the heart of climate change religion and ushering in America's golden age. Comparing climate change to religion is exactly how the language is so clear, guys. Just watch out for it. Anytime you have to know, it's like calling. It's like I mean, it's like so many things. It's like when you try to when you call a woman Miss or Little Miss, like, excuse me there, Miss. How about Missy? Or like when you call them Missy. They're just trying to get you to think that it's less important than it is. And here comes the lawnmower again. Back for more. One more time around. These fuckers, it's 6:30 in the morning. They just can't get an early enough start on the golf course. We got to make sure they can swing their balls around. So basically, we are done caring if we're polluting the air. I don't know if you've ever seen the air in China. I have not seen it personally, but I had a friend who lived over there, and she said it's insane. It's like, do you want to not wear masks? Then maybe we, shouldn't pollute. It is wild for me to think that there's any argument against electric vehicles. And here's why. So I'm a mechanic. I built my first engine when I was 15 years old, from soup to nuts, all the way in and out. There are so many flailing parts, and there's so much waste involved with just the building of an engine. Every time you build a new engine, you have to build new parts for that engine. So it isn't just about the manufacturing of the engine itself, and this is strictly from an efficiency standpoint that I'm talking. When you build an engine, you have hundreds of spinning, flailing, oiling, smashing, combusting parts that generate this thrust. Now, it's fine, it works, but you can use an electromagnet and spin one thing, and it will drive your whole car. And then all you've got to do is worry about how to store the battery safely, how to store the electricity safely in a battery. And to any idiot out there that thinks you throw away a lithium battery when you're done with it, you are wrong, okay? It is easier to refurbish a battery than it is to pull all the nutrients or the minerals out of the ground. The nutrients. You got to feed these things. To pull all the minerals out of the ground to make a new one. So the point is, once you have built your infrastructure, and that's the key word here. Everyone says it's cost prohibitive to do these things which create a sustainable source of electricity, like the solar argument. These solar panels, they'll only work for 20 years. That's 20 years where you didn't have to fire up coal. There is enough space on top of every house. If you put solar on every house in places like Arizona, you will excuse yourself from having to generate electricity because you're generating it yourself. But back to the electric car thing. The moving parts inside of an electric car, it is far easier and more efficient to make these electric cars. It shouldn't have anything to do with what the emissions are. And then once you put the electricity in there, the efficiency ratio goes up from something around 20%, which is, if you could see how much fuel you just dump out into the air, because when you burn gasoline, you're only burning it at a maximum 30% efficiency. And that's with the best engine you can get. But most of them are closer to like 25% or even closer to 20%. Older cars were like 18% efficient. What that means is, out of your tailpipe goes 80% or 70% of what you put in the fuel tank. And my thought was, if cars were see-through and you could see the size of your fuel tank, a 30-gallon drum in there, and then you take 20% of that and the rest of it you just dump on the ground, that's essentially what you're doing when you fill up your car with fuel. Now, I use it. I mean, it's a great thing, but I just want to say, let's stop worrying about building the infrastructure. We also had to build the infrastructure for the gas pipes and for all this stuff. I mean, it's a money mill. Anybody who doesn't see that it's a money mill, you're wrong. Anytime you hear any clapback from anyone in industry about electric cars, it's because they know it will take away from their profit margins. All right, enough about that. Let's move on. So the EPA's over. Washington Post, judge says Trump penalties on law firms send chills down my spine. She looks like a Karen. I'm not even going to. Anyone who looks like a Karen. Here's one. A man says he was held captive in a room for 20 years by his stepmother. If you can't defeat your stepmother at 32 years old, well, that's on you. I don't even care. That is absolutely 100% on you. Okay, we're going to keep this one short and sweet, and let's get into the Guardian. Guardian News, Pete Hegseth to overhaul U.S. military lawyers in an effort to relax rules of war. We don't want any rules in war. We want to be able to do whatever we want. All right, let's see if it can tell us which rules they're trying to undo. Expected to be coming. The changes are poised to have implications across the military. Interpretation of the U.S. rules of engagement on the battlefield to the way that charges are brought under military justice system. The Defense Department is currently in the process of nominating new judge advocate generals for the Army, Navy, and Air Force after Hegseth fired their predecessors in a late-night purge last month, and the overhaul is not expected to start until they are in place. Okay, so it sounds like what we're trying to do is basically get away with what last month were known as war crimes, and we want to change those so that they're no longer called war crimes. Oh, man. Guess what? You don't matter. That's what Donald Trump says. Oh, here's a funny thing that I saw today. There was a picture of like Barron Trump, and they're trying to say what Barron's girlfriends say about him. And I just noticed he doesn't have any smile lines on his face. I had smile lines when I was a kid already. Do you think the Donald told him, because Donald doesn't ever smile. It's always a frown. It's always a frown and a duck lip. That's why he sounds like that. It's frowning. He's talking through a frown. Through his duck lip frown. The lips are out. The frown is down. And do you think he tells Baron to do the same thing? He's like, Baron, what have I told you? Don't smile. You can't smile too much. If you smile, they'll get you. The monsters under the bed. Baron, what did I tell you about smiling? Oh, we don't smile around here, Baron. And, okay. Moving on, BBC. I haven't looked at this yet, so we're doing this together. It's all the same. Putin aide dismisses short-term ceasefire. Trump threatens 200% tariffs. Let's try pushing the word. How about world? Guardian's pretty good at that. Let's see what else is happening in the world. Trump, drill baby drill. Sierra Leone. Mother of teenage bride. Drone attacks, killing. It's all the same as yesterday. Guys, no news is good news. Or is it? Let's get out of here. The globe will teach us. And life is good. You know, slow down. Take a breath. Don't buy steel. Unless you need it to pay your mortgage, in which case, you know, sorry. I hope everything works out for you. Well, that's it for today's episode. Join me again for another episode tomorrow, and go ahead and pull your briefs back down to their normal level. This kick wasn't too hard. Hope you have a wonderful day, and bye.